No. All right, we're live. We're live right now, sweeties. Please don't come in. Daddy's live. Daddy. Okay. Okay, something broke. I'm gonna fix it after. I promise. Okay, sweeties. We love you. Okay. I know. Daddy's gotta finish the video. Hug. Okay. A hug. Okay, you wanna say hi? Okay, this is Sophia. She's in. Okay. All right. All right, Sophia, go. Okay. Bye, sweeties. See you later. All right, so we are live here. This is MMFM Digital from Home for obvious reasons. My name is J.O. Martinez. I am your co-host of not only the MMFM, but also Screen Heat Miami, your #1 entertainment podcast in Miami. We're going through a lot. I want to give a big shout out to the entire team, including Patty Arias, my partner in this conference, and our new initiatives. Obviously, we've had so many plans to bring you the 10th anniversary of the MMFM live and in person at the beautiful Biltmore. Obviously, that's all been put on hold and postponed, but it will come back. And in the meantime, some of our amazing guests that we were expecting to have been so kind and gracious to join us on this new virtual digital platform, including my guest today, Gloria Fan, who is an executive at Fox21 Television. She was a producer for many years. She's also a creative executive. She's worked on some amazing shows that we're going to talk about, including Homeland, that just had its amazing series finale just this past Sunday. She works on Mayans and a whole bunch of other really, really great stuff. So I'm so excited to bring her into the podcast in just a couple of minutes. But just wanted to talk a little bit about the industry and what everybody's been up to. Obviously, we've all been binging. There's so many great shows up there. This current situation tends to bring a lot of folks a little bit down, so I tend to gear more towards the comedies myself. Kind of got into Netflix. Been watching a little bit of Ricky Gervais. He has a brand new comedy. It's in its second season now. It's hilarious. It's called Afterlife. It's basically about a middle-aged guy who drinks himself drunk while looking at old videos of his wife who died of cancer. It's hilarious. You should check it out. Not really. It's one of those shows that really touches so many levels, and it's bittersweet. It's funny. It's all Ricky Gervais, and there's so many shows like that out there in the universe that we have, including all the shows obviously on FX and on Disney. Like, there's just so much great content out there to help us pass the time during these moments. And there's also the idea of content creation. So just before we bring Gloria on, and I had a little impromptu visit from my kids, I participated in the most recent Quarantine Film Festival sponsored by Roger Corman. And we did a little film called The Water Bottle, which featured all three of my kids, a 10-month-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I produced, wrote, directed, and my wife was the cinematographer. So if you can imagine that production, we are going to go ahead and show you this film, and then we'll bring Gloria on. It's a 2-minute film, so don't worry, it's going to be fast.
Oh, another day behind bars. Wait a minute, what's that? Huh, is that clear milk? Gotta get a closer look. All right. Get a little closer. Oh, great, long arms, perfect. Yeah, you go, just use those claws. That's it, watch the legs. Thank you. All right then, wait a second. Where'd he go? This requires an investigation. Let's see here. There he is. Hey, you, over there. Stop moving. Stop moving, Art. Hey, wait a minute. You're more slippery than my rubber ducky. Where'd he go? Aha! Got you this time. All right, let's talk this out. I'll just want to get a closer look. That's it. And here we... Oh, no. Where did he go? Ha ha! Cornered, are we? Now I've got you, water bottle. Didn't think I could read, did you? Wait, oh no, you again? No, not this time. Oh, wait, who's that? No, don't you dare, don't you! Oh, funny girl. This means revenge. Hey, long arms, I've got a plan.
All right, Gloria, how are you?
I'm good. I really enjoyed that. And congratulations on having 3 kids and surviving. You know, like you've actually inspired me. I feel like I haven't accomplished enough. You made a short with your kids. Incredible.
Well, it's honestly for me more of just excuses and looking for things to do. So, since I come from the producer production world, it's like, all right, let's make a movie. Just to eat up the time. But trust me, it's been a lot of that, because when you have 3 kids in an apartment, it's basically like it's either that, or I've given them everything from acting classes to we've done yoga classes, martial arts, and we do a nighttime Mickey show before they go to bed. So.
Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
is amazing. I mean, I have 2 little ones myself, and it truly, it's one of those things where it kind of adds perspective. I mean, in a way, I feel blessed that I get to spend time with them because, when can we work from home? Usually it's in the office.
Mm.
So that's been amazing. But also having a full-time job and getting everything else, it's tricky.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It is super tricky, but I think obviously, to try to make the best of everything, we always look for the silver lining in these things, right? And the fact that you can spend more time at home with your family and have more of these sort of moments where, in the normal course of our workday, it's just impossible.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so.
congratulations.
Thank you. But obviously, Gloria, I want to talk a little bit about you. This is MMFM Digital, and we do a lot in terms of the life journey of folks that work in the industry. And, you have such an incredible resume of everything that you've done. But, we want to take it back a little bit. Where are you from originally?
So originally, I was born in New York. I always say that because it just sounded so cool. But I did actually most of my growing up in Southern California in Orange County, and and then went to UCLA, and I think that's where kind of the bug to get into this business started. But yeah, and then grew up from immigrant parents. My mom is Vietnamese and my dad is Chinese. And so, I think that's kind of really created an interesting foundation of, what is it like kind of being, a person of color growing up in Orange County and thinking like, wait, we could make movies, we could create television series. It was something that felt very foreign. And I feel fortunate that I was able to kind of find great mentors to say this can happen.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and that you're so fortunate, and the folks that have that, because I always say that this is a mentorship business and it's an apprenticeship business. So really finding, I guess, what we call our industry elders to kind of show us the way is so key and so critical. And especially like you said, when you're a person of color, when you're a minority, there's so few opportunities still today. So the fact that you're doing everything that you're doing, I think, is just amazing. So congrats on that. And then, kind of as you were growing up, when did you start to think that, well, I could do this for a living?
It wasn't until much later. I would say it probably was in college and being at UCLA and kind of seeing other people. I remember the gal who lived across from my dorm, and she's like, "Oh, I'm interning at a place where I get to read scripts," and it was
Wow.
like I didn't even know what the word script meant. Like that's how little I was exposed to it, and immediately the kind of the bug came and the curiosity came, and you kind of, I guess we always do look back, and I think back of just when I was in high school, I was writing plays, I was putting together productions, but I never called it that. It was almost a hobby and it was fun. And homework assignments, when a homework assignment would be to write a paper, I found my group and I were like, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to do a video on this and let's like
Mm.
shoot something? And so we would shoot a short instead of writing a paper. And at the time, we just thought we were being creative and different. And I think it was kind of nurturing that curiosity or that interest of storytelling.
Wow. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of reason why most of us get into the industry, regardless of what our ultimate goal or discipline is, this sort of innate desire to tell a story. I think is really what drives everyone to keep doing this through thick and thin, through ups and downs. And so, you know, when it comes to sort of Hollywood, what was your first big break? What would you say was your first real entree into the business?
The reason I'm thinking is I think I would just say my very first job, which I got making it started literally in the Xerox copy. I was an intern at the time. I just graduated college. I interviewed for an assistant position. It was to work at a production company that was making this great Sundance movie called Clock Watchers that had, I believe, like Toni Collette, Lisa Kudrow. And I went into this interview thinking like, okay, I just graduated college, I'm ready. And they're like, so you would be so great as an intern here. And I'm thinking, oh, I was here for the assistant gig, but I was so timid and afraid. And I was like, I'll take it. Okay, internship, like, that's fine. And so, started as an intern on that show as they went into pre-production. And when they say that, and I tell a lot of my interns now, is you take every opportunity and you see what you can make of it. So literally I'm making Xerox copies again, and a producer was there going, oh my goodness, like, I really need an assistant. I can't believe, like, I'm just running solo here. I'm like, interview me.
Right.
So I did, and I got that job, and I became, her assistant. So it's, would I have done anything differently? Do I wish that I was able to kind of have told the very first interview that, wait a minute, no, I'm here for an assistant position?
Right.
Maybe, but at the same time, I took the opportunity to be that intern, and it grew into something more and more and more to, and to where I am today. So I'm thankful for it.
Of course, yeah, and that's such a great story because everyone, they always say there's no one way to greatness. Greatness is the way, right? So I think that everyone finds their ultimate path to where they want to be, and so you've been with Fox21 Television for a while now, right?
It's over 4 years, yes.
Wow.
So on to my fifth, and I look forward to growing even more roots, because prior to that, I was at a company called Mosaic for 16 years.
Wow.
So that's where I did a lot of my growing up. I feel so honored to have, been part of that. So yes, as excited as I am to say that I'm on to my 5th year here, I'm looking forward to, continuing growing roots, because I really enjoy, I enjoy the things that we do, and for me personally, I like growing the roots and being with the place and just cultivating those relationships. But again, as you say, everyone has their own path, and this has been mine.
Yeah, and it's been amazing the run you've had, and your assistant Daniela was very nice to send us a few clips of some of the recent work, and we don't have time to show all of them, but I do want to show a couple, and I'd like to start with Mayans, if you don't mind.
Great.
So I'm going to run this clip. We'll put you back on standby. You'll be able to see it, and we'll talk about it a little bit after. Hang on one second. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the trailer for Mayans.
We've hit an ugly bump. We gotta do something, or we lose everything. Nothing blows back on the Mayans.
Rip talk, Angel.
Nothing to talk about.
My boys, they have no connection to my past. I buried it for a reason. It's about Mom. I know killed her.
This shit with you and Angel, work it out.
I know I betrayed you. I stayed because I was afraid to leave the club. I need to be a part of something.
It's a line. Cross it, ain't no walking it back.
I need your help with our rebel queen.
You need me to get her dirty.
Get her bloody.
If you bring the other world into this,
You undermine all the work you've done to go legitimate.
Ain't no fun if it can't kill you.
Here we go!
That look in your eye, brother. You're not gonna let it go until it's finished.
Mayans premieres Tuesday, September 3rd on FX.
Wow. That was great. I mean, that's, it's one of those power, and we talk about stories about color and minorities. How does Mayan kind of play into that, just kind of propping up certain cultures in the U.S.?
I'm so proud of that show. It's the spin-off of Sons of Anarchy that Kurt Sutter had created. And, when we were first kind of thinking about, let's do a spin-off of this incredible show, what story should we tell? And if you were to ever rewatch the pilot of Sons of Anarchy, which I highly recommend, it still holds up to this day as if no time has passed. The Mayans were in episode 1. And, and of course throughout the series. And so it kind of made so much sense. And what's interesting is, being that the Mayans are a Latino motorcycle gang, and kind of telling that story. And the first thing Kurt did was want to find an incredible partner. And we brought on Elgin James, who is this incredible filmmaker, made this beautiful movie called Little Birds that was on, at Sundance, and has an incredible story himself. It was just the partnership that, made in heaven. And, I think that there's something incredible of being able to tell stories where pretty much everyone is a person of color, and the cultural elements and all of that. But at the same time, it also, there's a sensitivity of, let's make sure that we're also telling an authentic story, but also not relying on just simply violence and, drugs and, things like that, like a little bit more of the negative elements. And always what we come down to is it's telling an authentic story of a very specific group, similar to the roots of Sons of Anarchy, where that was also telling a story of, this, motorcycle club.
Yeah, no, you're so right, because I think a lot of it does come down to, and something obviously that you deal with, character development and being so specific about these characters, because it is very easy to get into the cliches of the obviously being from Miami, the typical drug dealer story, and we hear so many of those. But there's been some beautiful shows told out of our culture as well. PICASSO USA, that good friend Luis Santedo wrote, who's very good friends with my partner Patty Arias, which at one time was actually produced by public television in the late 70s and early 80s. Yeah, by a grant, about a Cuban American family, just a working class family in Miami in the early 80s. And to the point that it got on the cover of TV Guide as one of the best American sitcoms. So, it's, every time you're able to do something like, Mayans or Sons of Anarchy or PICASSO USA, to me, it gives me goosebumps, because I feel it. Like, I feel the culture, I feel it permeating. And like I said, at the end of the day, we always say you want to tell a good story. It has to be exciting, it has to be interesting. But I think the more that we can create this palette of what America is today, I think the better. And you've done such a great job of that.
Yeah. So. No, I'm really proud of that show, and then kind of the things that they're dealing with, and we're, in the middle of figuring out season 3 and continuing to kind of have that challenge of how do we, create a grounded story. And this one is, and where they've set the fictitious town, but it's on the, on the border, between Mexico and America, and kind of things that happen at these border towns.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and those are things that obviously such hot button issues right now in terms of our national politics, I guess. But yeah, no, and there's so many shows, and like I said, I wish we had time to show all of them, but I did want to show a little bit of Homeland, because I know that's one that just wrapped up its amazing run last week. So we're going to show a little bit of the official trailer for Homeland, and then we'll talk a little bit about that one. All right, so here we go.
I lost 7 months of my life. Tell me I don't get a shot at some payback.
Peace may actually be possible.
We've all seen this movie. We know how it ends.
Do you think the Taliban will keep any agreement?
We are this close to oblivion.
I need Carrie in Kabul for a week or two.
When?
Right away. If you're up for it, that is.
Hell yes.
Kabul isn't the place you knew before. It's 10 times more dangerous.
We picked up an intercept.
That's the head of the Taliban. We have a deal then.
We have a deal.
You have a traitor in your camp.
Have you ever conspired with a foreign intelligence officer?
I did not.
How can you be so sure? If there's 180 days of your life you don't remember.
Where were you tonight, Carrie?
I lost 7 months of my life. Tell me I don't get a shot at some payback.
Get out of our country. Leave us alone.
You were off the grid for more than 90 minutes.
Enough time to make a phone call.
To my Russian handler?
You tell him exactly what he wants to hear. I believe you. No one else will.
Wow. So there you go, Homeland. So cool. Claire Danes does such a great job on that. What a great show.
Oh my goodness. I could take incredibly, like pretty much no credit. It's just the brains of, you know, from Alec Gonza to the writing team. It's been a dream. Just incredible. And seeing kind of everyone post yesterday, finally letting the world see the series finale. It's incredible. And I was so glad that you know, people that had no idea that I was involved in it was just like posting, you know, how much they enjoyed it. It was just incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. There's so few shows that hit the zeitgeist of culture nowadays because there is so much content out there that, you know, when a show like Homeland that had such an incredible run, and you can tell that, you know, there's such a strong fan base out there and everyone's commenting on it, and it must be an incredible feeling for you right now. But also, you know, a little bittersweet because now, right, the series is over.
It's so bittersweet because, again, just working with that entire team, it was some of the best creative minds involved.
Yeah, and that really must be the pleasure is, you know, when you see how these stories unfold and they break and the writers coming up with these amazing storylines and characters and situations, season after season, because it's hard after a while, right, to keep the show fresh.
Yeah. And, you know, I think what was so incredible about Homeland is, you know, they were so bold where the first 3 seasons, of course, surrounded, you know, with Brody, and to, you know, to come to a moment going, okay, we've told that story, but there's still more story to tell on Carrie. I think, and to successfully, season after season, you know, create storylines that felt beyond even of the moment. They were prescient sometimes, and there would be, you know, I remember getting on calls where it's like, oh my goodness, this happened. We're gonna need to create a chyron saying this was shot before, you know, the real event happened.
Right.
You know, things like that. It's pretty incredible. I mean, you know, to the terminology of even fake news, they were writing about those words before it became a hashtag in a way.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how some of these creators, these showrunners that come up with these shows, and like you said, they happen sometimes 2, 3 seasons before the actual live event. I mean, everyone looks at House of Cards now and goes, "Oh my God," But and likewise with Homeland, it's like, there are these sort of moments that you wonder how prescient are these writers, these showrunners, that kind of
Well, you
almost.
know what it is it's that it's research and it's dedication, and they put in so much. They look in, interview people, they talk to, very specific kind of experts. It doesn't just come out of thin air. There's a lot of hard work that comes out of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is so much work, in that writer's room and coming up with all these amazing storylines and plots, and like I said, doing it season after season, and having it all be of such a high quality. Obviously testament not only to the writers and to the filmmakers and the creators, but to the executives behind the shows as well, right? Because there's so much going on your end as well, and overseeing multiple shows. So, so what's next for you? I know there's a few shows in the pipeline. I know things are a little weird right now because of the shutdown, but sort of how do you kind of see your next 6 to 12 months in terms of what you're developing?
Well, I am very, very excited with our season 3 of Genius. That's another show that we worked on. It's the Nat Geo show that we work with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer and his team at Imagine. Season 1 was Einstein. Season 2, Pablo Picasso. Season 3, Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
So we couldn't be more excited to tell her story. And we're working with renowned playwright Susan Laurie Parks. And, Anthony Hemingway directed, the first episode and several episodes, actually, of that show. Cynthia Erivo has been just incredible. I remember when, I was there when we were shooting the first episode, and I had the pleasure of hearing just Cynthia singing on set. It wasn't playback, which, obviously, like we had in preparation. She was belting it out. She was, hitting her inner Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, no, she's such a talent. On our podcast, Screen Heat Miami, I had the good fortune of interviewing Gregory Allen Howard, who wrote Harriet, as well as Remember the Titans, and he had such amazing things to say about her, and what an incredible performance and music and everything. It's just such a talent. So it's so amazing that you're getting a chance to work with her for sure.
Yeah, and I think to also showcase Aretha Franklin as a genius is going to be incredibly exciting, because if as we had developed Einstein and Picasso, what was interesting is that these other geniuses, what makes a genius is definitely the people that surrounds them. And with Einstein, there was the highlight of how his wife, Maleva, was very, very influential to him and was a genius unto her, unto her own self, as well as Picasso, the people who surrounded him. And so it was, so I think to be able to highlight a female, as well as a person of color, as well as an American, there's, all of these things is going to be a first for season 3. So I couldn't be more excited. So that's going to be upcoming.
Wow.
We have a few other things. Another show I work on is Queen of the South, which is going on to season 5, which is really just incredible as well. That's on USA. And, I'm just proud of every one of my shows.
Yeah, they're all your babies, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's good. So I'm obviously so excited for you and all the work that you're doing, and I know that you can't wait to get down to Miami in person, so we can all hang out, hopefully.
Yes, I would love that so much. And and let me know, if there's anything else. And also, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you have questions, but I'm happy to kind of also if there's anything to talk about of, just young directors or young writers and kind of how it'd be helpful for them to break into the business and things like that. Happy to kind of.
Great. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So, we have been getting a few comments. There's a little bit of a delay just because of the internet. So I'm trying to just kind of scroll through while we're talking. But obviously some of the questions that usually tend to pop up, and obviously knowing that some of our crowd is from Miami with a lot of creative talent, but there isn't as much structure in Miami as there is in LA. So what would a young director have to do to just kind of, or a writer, let's say, to get someone like yours attention? There's always talks about, do you take unsolicited material? How do you take pitches? That kind of stuff.
Sure, and it pains me when I have to say that we don't take unsolicited material. It's such a shame that a few bad eggs in the business have kind of made it difficult for us to do that. But there are opportunities and ways in, and I do look towards our various kind of diversity and inclusion programs. Disney has, like, every place has an incredible program, from Disney to HBO to NBC Universal, Amazon. They all have, and what's exciting about these programs is that there is a bond and a camaraderie within each, where there's a lot of communication that's going on, and one would kind of make assumptions that everyone is so private, and but when it comes to these programs, it's actually the complete opposite. There's interaction of how can we just support the entire, each other's program, the attendance of it. So I do recommend looking into those and seeing kind of where those opportunities lie. And also, I think it's about just not being afraid and continuing to, you're a writer, keep writing, keep wanting to tell your stories, and participating even as they listen on to this. They're already doing the right thing by engaging themselves and asking this question. That's already step one. And then, I think as directors, I think you're a perfect example and testament to that, of of the water bottle, where, and I really mean it.
Thank you.
It starts just with what you have. I mean, obviously, sometimes it does feel so far and so, and it's just so hard to attain, but it's those baby steps and and it's the dream. And what I do love about the business that we're in is we're all so passionate and a little crazy. And what I mean by that is, I can't imagine doing anything else other than what I do. And hopefully my sincerity is coming through, where I love to read. I love to get to know new voices and to cultivate it and discover it. And I think that I'm not alone in that, because the only way to succeed in this business is to just keep trying and to kind of find different opportunities and keep telling the stories.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully put. No, for sure. And I think that obviously we all need to hear that, especially in these times where we feel like, what's going to happen next? Is the business going to come back? How is it going to come back? What's going to be our new place in the world? But like you said, there's so many little things that we could be doing on our own just to keep telling these stories. And, it's interesting that you said that genius surrounds itself with interesting people. So I think for folks that are at home now, even if it's your kids or your significant other, you can find your muse, right?
Absolutely, yes.
That's awesome. So, and obviously you touched a little bit on Disney, and I know at Fox 21 now, are you able to tap into more resources, do you feel now, because of the merger recently, or are you still kind of operating in your own space?
No, I definitely, it's been really exciting kind of being part of the Disney Television Studio right now, DTS as we call it. And there has been, more opportunity in the sense that, now we have our brothers and sisters at ABC Studios, and we always had, 20th. But also the various platforms are now, we have 6 internal platforms being ABC, Freeform, Hulu, Disney Plus, National Geographic, FX. It's really just exciting. So to have all of that, as well as a really robust, as I said, diversity and inclusion group. So it has been really exciting.
That's awesome. No, it's so great to hear that there are now so many more opportunities, because it seems like the industry has been kind of merging and feels like it's becoming smaller, but I believe that it is going to open up more opportunities in the future. For sure. So I'm excited to hear about all of that. And then, I'll end with one last question about, I guess, going back to us. And, in terms of production, things are weird because, a lot of that is driven by incentives. But, we had a very popular show on USA called Burn Notice for several years that everyone loved. So, would you be interested in developing more shows that took place in Miami? And sort of, and would you sort of tell folks to continue to creating those stories regardless of looking at the incentives, or would you say, look, try to find a story that can be shot in Georgia, Louisiana, or some of the places where production is more feasible right now?
In my opinion, I would not be worried about incentives and where to set it. I think that stories really need to come from a character and a creative element. Let other people figure out where it needs to go. Like right. That's part of me feels like that's putting a cart before the horse. It's if it is a story that you want to tell in Miami, great. If it's a story that you want to tell in outer space, that's okay too.
Right.
I really, really wouldn't be thinking about that. I think that also it's not about chasing that next story of, when Stranger Things came out, which, I am a huge fan of. Everyone's like, oh, what's the next Stranger Things? What's the next Game of Thrones? What's the next, it's always, what's the next of this? And if you really think about when those shows came, they weren't thinking, oh, we're going to be the next whatever. Right. They just said, this is a story we want to tell.
Right.
So I think that's kind of really where it comes down to. And again, I think, look at your muse. Is it your 3 kids? Is it, right. where you grew up? Is it, from... Or is it a story, that you kind of read when you were a child? It could be anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, definitely don't let your creativity limit you, for sure. But I think that's very well put. And the time has really flown, and I don't know how much time you have. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've had a busy day, and still you're 3 hours behind us. But this has been such a great ride, and just there's so much great content in this. And I think especially for the younger writers and aspiring filmmakers and producers out there that want to break into the business, to kind of keep focused on their creative tracks and just kind of keep pushing and creating stories.
Exactly. Because everyone has to start somewhere. And also, oftentimes when I congratulate my friends on, their first successes, I'm oftentimes reminded that it didn't happen overnight. It happened over hours and hours of working on several, stories and scripts and numerous rewrites. It's very few and far between that, that anything happened overnight. Usually I'm saying congratulations that people finally recognize your hard work.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Going back to Greg Howard, I think he wrote the original Harriet in the mid-90s. So it was his first commissioned screenplay, if you can imagine. And they just had they had their Oscar run last year. And we've had so many stories like that. People now that can't seem to stop working, but it really took them almost a decade of finding their voice and their footing in the industry. So that is fantastic advice, and I just think that everything you've said so much knowledge, for our listeners and for our viewers that, I'm excited to talk to you again. Hopefully the next time we'll be in Miami. And we can, and that would be so great. But Gloria, you've been amazing, and I just want to thank you so much again for your time and for joining us on this chat today.
Oh, right back to you. It's so great, and I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy.
Yes, we're trying, and in the meantime, we'll be making more little water bottles.
Oh, I can't wait. Keep me posted. I'm in.
Oh, we'll put you on the newsletter.
I would like that very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gloria. So we're going to put you back on standby. I'll just do my quick wrap. 1 second here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was another great edition of MMFM Digital. I want to thank my guest, Gloria Fan, for being such a gracious and kind host and answering some of your question and ours. I want to, of course, thank the Miami Media and Film Market, Kamakola, our host organization, Patty Arias, Joe Chi, and everyone that makes this show possible. I am your co-host and creative director, J.L. Martinez. And until then, happy streaming.